Welcome back to Scratch Farm Models. So today's Model Farm Week 3 Season 2. There's a lot going on, so let's get into it. So starting off down here, there was a bit of an accident earlier in the week. We were doing a bit of contract tanking. There was some, well, the gateways weren't tight themselves, but there was some overhanging trees, and we ended up ripping off one of the mud guards. Because this was a very old second-hand tanker, we bought it. Obviously, I think it had been repaired before. So we have been wanting to get a new tanker for a long time, even before we sort of moved farms, but this one has always worked half decently. But we're starting to think it might become that time where we need to start changing it. It is a fairly big tanker. If we bought a new one, with our financial position at the moment, we're just having all the new buildings up, we'd have to get probably a slightly smaller one. But we probably should go for another Primax because they seem to be really good. But we're going to weld the mudguard back on. It hasn't actually damaged the body, so we kept using it for the rest of the day, and it can get used. It's just more aesthetics than anything. Because there's the mudguard there, ready to get welded back on. So the classic cane sided trailers there, the mini diggers there. We're going to try and throw a jumper lead on that soon, and just try and get it to crank over, or just spark it straight off the starter, just to get it into the shed so it's not out as much before we get round to sorting it out. And the Kubota's bucket, diesel tank, the really old Bomford cultivator, all the side spurs are flat 8. So over here, there's been more progress on this. It's had its first coat. There's a bit of a mess up there because this was our first time spraying stuff. So we're going to spray that again. We've got the rest of the parts ready to weld all up, and then we'll weld that back on. The demo cord hasn't been used as much as we wanted it to, but as soon as lambing starts a bit more, it'll get used a lot. So no one's really around today, and that's because there's a big auction going on. So the only person in the yard today is Ian. He's just bedding up with a Kubota. We don't have a bale spike for the Daichi yet, because we sold the old spike with the old John Deere we had. So the spike is on the Kubota, the one spike we have left, and we have a new straw chopper. We've been waiting for this straw chopper for quite a while, because the old one's got sold. But yeah, it's a lot nicer than the old one, and it works a lot better. So Ian's just bedding up there with that. Cows are happy in there, got a good bit of silage. And then after he's done that, he's going to throw in another hay bale for the sheep. The scraper cap is in there, and the power harrow project is also in the back of there. There's lots of stuff that needs to get done in the workshop, but there's just not the time at the moment. So we're either going to be selling all the square sided bales or all the round ones. Let me know in the comments which ones you think we should sell, but we don't need them all, so it just makes sense to get rid of them. So yeah, obviously next year we'll be having quite a few more head, but at the moment there's a few cases of TB around our area. Our cows seem to be alright, as in they're not mixing with any other cows, but it just obviously puts restraints on moving cattle. So anyway, the Daichi's in there, the voucher's in there, and obviously the topper, the first spreader, the case Puma's parked up. That was on the tanker for a fair while, and then the 6820 hasn't moved in a fair while, but mainly because it's in the shed and it's just easier to jump in the Puma. And then we've got everything in the sheds, the skid steers bucket, and the hay slowly going down, as well as the straw. And then obviously all the tyres and everything on the pit. There's an old roller in the hedge where we trimmed it back a bit, so we're going to drag that out somewhere. So we still haven't really done much of these fields, but we want to get this one tanked on, so we're going to be moving these logs soon. And there is word of mouth that this might be going up for sale soon. We found out the person who owns it, and he forgot he had it. So yeah, this might be going up for sale soon, and someone will be buying it. So the dealership have just collected our old McHale straw chopper in exchange for the Coon one that we got at the moment. So they're just towing that one away because it's a part exchange with their Massey 6613. Then this field's all getting on well. We've had a fair few tank loads out on these two fields recently. Event down here at the contractors' yards. So for those of you that don't know the storyline, Mike used to own the contractors' yard as well, and he sold it, and it is basically the new guy who owns it, Gary, has made it go bankrupt because he had a new barn put up. The rest of it he couldn't afford to have put up, and it's just a bit of a mess. All the machines haven't been maintained, so it's up for auction. It's quite early, not hardly anyone's turned up for the auction yet, but Noah's talking to Gary because he wants to try and buy the yard off of him, because Noah used to basically manage the contracting business, so he'd like to buy it for himself finally now. He won't be able to buy all the machines, but he wants to just get one or two. And then Connor, he's just he's got to figure out what he's got to do for work now, unless he starts doing work for Noah or something. But obviously his job is pretty much gone. So his Land Rover started overheating, so we're just checking the coolant. Then he's gonna have a quick walk around the auction. And then we've got Jack's Land Rover, Mike's pickup, and Richard's pickup as well. So yeah, everything's for sale. So Richard, who obviously does all the workshop stuff, is looking at the paddy whacker and the chainsaw, because he used to have the forklift as well before we moved it down here, and then it got sold with the business, so he's thinking of possibly buying that back. So Mike is looking at the Yanmar, because obviously it was his first machine. Even at the first farm, before we had the concreting or even the contractor's yard, he used to just have the Yanmar in the farmyard itself. So he's wanting to try and buy it back if he can, because it was a great machine. He didn't ever really want to sell it, but he just had to. So he wants to buy it back. So yeah, and then got all this stuff that we don't know who's going to buy that. Got all the attachments lined up. The other thing that Gary's doing, just trying to get as much money as possible, which is a bit of a scam. He's selling each attachment separately, even though they all go on specific machines. So then Sean, who doesn't have a yard at the moment, who's moving, is looking at the chipper, because he's going to go into a lot more logging. And then Jack, he's looking at this 8060 because he wants to get a little digger himself to possibly do some work, but he's selling it separately from the trailer and all the buckets, so it might be a bit pricey. So the Case Maxim that used to be on the farm is obviously getting sold because it was with the contractor's yard. And Mike is also looking at potentially buying back the low loader, because he's going to need another bigger trailer before hay season. So yeah, it's going to be interesting what happens with all the kit, who buys what, and if Noah can win the bid and buy the yard. But that's all for next time. So obviously it all comes with this little paddock here, which is a bit of a wreck at the moment, and the pigs are out here getting on well. So we're gonna have to rip that hedge out, because that's pretty much dead. We did it there, we've got to do it there now as well. I think it's really going down here at the outer storage yard, and this hill's all getting on well. This hedge could do with trimming back soon there. That's pretty much it. Obviously there's no Sean's yard at all, because that is in getting a new display built up there. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Like, comment on stuff you want to happen with the who's buying what and all that scenario. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Any questions you have, leave in the comments. Please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and see you again soon.